Now, notice I'm not going to touch you until we get going because I just got done washing my hands, so I don't want to be messing with you until I'm doing anything. So I would say for those of you who are like, you like to go up to your patients and shake hands, let's not. Let's not. It's not a good choice. So at this point, all we're gonna do, she's already not pregnant. We're doing her standing. Um, yes, I can use a shield. I'm not going to sit here and pull this shield, so you're going to have to assume that she is shield because I'm not going to trip over the shield. So I'm going to bring you over here and put your left side against the board. I'm going to start off nice and easy. We're going to start off with our lateral sternum. I'm going to have you go ahead and take your hands and put them back behind your back. Step backwards a little bit. Well, I can see I could make you jump, so that's good. I feel like that's not being too terribly ticklish. Okay, now what we want to do on this lateral sternum, obviously her necklace and all this lovely good stuff needs to be gone. So, not overly concerned about that because I'm not really going to take an image. I like to angle my collimator to match the sternum. I think it comes out better, and as long as you have your collimated field closed down to smaller than your imaging plate, you're fine. Well, we're doing a max 10 by 12, so there's no problem with that being closed down. I do want to make sure your feet are even with each other. There you go, because that'll keep you from being rotated. Okay, so when you're positioning this month, when you're positioning, what you need to make sure of all the time is that the whole body is in alignment, okay? That's going to be one of the most important things that you can do, is always making sure that that whole body is in alignment. For this one, it's going to be on inspiration. I already went and set a technique there, and what I would just tell Krista is taking a deep breath and hold it, and I would do my exposure, okay? So what we're trying to do here, you can see Krista's jugular notch, it's real prominent. Sorry, my fingers are cold. And then xiphoid should be right about here. So I'm not going to jab all the way in because I'm pretty darn sure I didn't hit anything solid, so I know I have to be sitting right below it. What we're looking at is something that's about 7 inches long, okay? So we're good to go. We just need to know we have light field above this and light field down to here. We're golden. We have everything we need. It's not a large area for that. Then what we would do at this point is we'll go ahead and we'll change to our 40-inch SID because that one's at 72. And like I said, the reason why that one's at 72 is because the sternum, between the sternum and the board, you have a good amount of OID. The broader that person's shoulders are, the more OID you're going to have. So, thank you. Yeah, I had mine down and I was like, yeah, no, gotta go up. It's gotta be out of my way. So, then we'll have you face the board. Okay, go ahead and step forward into the board. Thank you. Okay. And now, what we're trying to do here is, here's her spine, okay? We're putting Kristen into a shallow RAO, so when I turn her slightly into the RAO, then, and you can look at this and see it's a very little distance. She doesn't look really rotated at all. 15 degrees is only about that much, okay, at the widest point. So don't over rotate that patient because you're going to throw the sternum over too far. So now here's her spine. I generally sit my light field right here at the spine, and I know that the sternum should be sitting in the center. Now, I just will check right here. I already had my light field, so I know I'm good. But when I can see her sternum's here, my light field's up here, I know that I can still collimate down some. And so I'm fine there, and have my marker up in the light field. And like I told you yesterday, your marker to your left side, you're marking that left side, because the sternum is going to be thrown to the left side of the body. It doesn't take much. Here's your spine here, your sternum's here, so it's throwing it off to the left side, just into the heart shadow, okay? So that's all you're going to want to do. I never tell my patient to breathe normal or anything like that. That is my personal preference, because if I tell you to breathe normal, now all of a sudden you're thinking about your breathing. I don't want you thinking about your breathing, because you're not going to breathe the same. If I just leave her alone and go back there and take the exposure, just tell her hold still. That's generally is enough to make sure they know that they need to be staying in that position for me. So hold still, I go, I make the exposure, we're done. Krista, you can relax.
You don't have to do anything with your arms or anything?
Nope.
Just leave them by your side?
Yep.
Okay.
So no worries there. Some people like to bring their arms. I don't see a need. If I have somebody that is frail and perhaps they're, not feeling real steady, sure, have them hold on to the Bucky, no problem. Other than that, no need to. But that's it for that sternum. Now, you have a couple different ways you could do it if you needed to. You could do it if the patient was in a wheelchair. That's very easily done. You do your lateral just like you would have done a lateral chest, except for you're pushing them back further, because the sternum is where you want your central ray. And then you can do an LPO. That's not hard to do. That would be easier than doing the RAO. If a patient's in a stretcher, and as long as you have a Bucky and have the ability to get them in there, you can take the stretcher and pull it in front. Now this room obviously wouldn't work for us, but in a real room it should, where we could take the stretcher and bring it right here beside the Bucky. We put that side guard down and swing the patient's feet around. First we can do the lateral without even getting that intense. But then when we're ready to do our RAO, then take the feet, swing them down and around in front of the patient, bring that Bucky down, and have the patient come up against the board, just that slight RAO, and take the exposure. So that's probably the easiest way if I have somebody in a stretcher that at least can move on their own, and if they're frail or shaken or whatever. When I'm doing trauma, I have to decide if they're already on a board, then what I'm gonna do, I'll have you do this for a second. Because I've got two things I've got to think about. This room, I have a little bit limited, mobility on my tube and everything for this room, so it makes it a little fun sometimes how I have to decide to do that. So since I know if I had the patient on a board that I would be doing a left lateral, so I would want the patient's head at this end of this table, because the only way that I can do that left lateral is to swing this around. So that left side's going to have to be to the outside. So that's what I'd want to do here, and I wouldn't give you a pillow, but I put you down. I want to show you the LPO, because that one will be a little interesting.
You want me to lay my head down here?
Yeah, okay. This side here.
No pillow? Because we're going to take this way?
Yeah, no pillow, ma'am. Yeah, you're tall enough, I don't want your feet on it either. There you go. All right. So again, whole body straight, okay? A whole body in alignment. So that's probably one of the most important things that I need you to think about. Now this one, if I were able to roll my patient into an LPO, I'm gonna show you what that'll look like so that you can see what it looks like. But if the patient were on a backboard, then that's not likely to be what I would be doing. So I just want you to recognize that, okay? So I'm gonna show you this one. Go ahead and come back. And you see how little I want her rotated? Can you see that, Apollonia?
So we're not using the whole 45 up under her.
Yes,
It's just slightly under
just
her.
slightly under her, correct. It's not one of your classmates. It is, they're gonna be waiting, huh? So now, as long as I localize on the jugular notch, then I know I'm at the top. I do not have an imaging plate in here. I'm not gonna put one in here, but you would have one in there, obviously. I've got it up there. I didn't move it. So without all her fun stuff here, again, all we're doing is we're just going sternum. It's real easy in an LPO to localize the placement of the sternum. If I can do it this way, then I'm gonna line up with the bucky and I'm gonna be fine, okay? If I could not do that, then my next thing I would need to do, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this, Chris. Okay, the next thing that I would do is, now I have the ability and I need to come up higher because now I'm gonna go to tabletop. So what I would want to do here is I want to loosen this because I want to throw an angle on this. Thank you very much for coming. Tube's like, oh, we missed you guys so much. It'd be irritating. So, now I can go back up where I want to be.
So you were putting your 15 to 20 degree angle on that tube there towards the wall
Yep, I am. So I have a couple
to
things
achieve
that,
the LPO.
yep. So I have a couple things that I have to do here. And one is with Krista, I have to get her over to the side some for me. Yep, that's fine. Oh, wow. Well, that saved me a whole lot of trouble because I was going to say, well, I don't have to have her go that far because now I am free to use my tabletop to my advantage. So I wanted you to see what I was doing, but she moved so easily. That was so nice of her. Here, I'll take it and do it this way so it doesn't really hurt going
so
under
kind.
you, okay? Yeah, no problem. So, some things you have to pay attention to here is the fact that you want this to be hitting close to the center, okay? So we can take this and come this way, and I should be centered on her by the way I placed it. I did it on purpose because I wanted to be very close to the center because we know our digital receptors, that's gonna matter for us. So again, we've got all this lovely stuff here. And you can again center right on your sternum and you're gonna be fine. So we're not gonna be off to the left on this because our angle's coming in. It's gonna throw the sternum off to the side. It's gonna do the work for me, okay? So that's all the more we're doing there. So now it becomes a tabletop technique. So if I don't have a grid cap, my technique has to go down for this, okay? So just letting you know that if you had a grid cap, your technique probably could be still a little bit lower, but it would be about the same. So you would be okay, but without that, it changes things, okay? Cause we went from being in the bucky to being at the tabletop, alright?
So for an RAO, you center a little bit to the left,
Mm-hmm.
but then when you're doing the LPO, you center right to the sternum, cause that's the angle that you throw it.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Makes sense.
And because you're right at the sternum for that, so whether you have oblique their body into the LPO, or whether you have obliqued your tube, you've accomplished the same thing and you're coming right in at the sternum versus coming in, well, I think when I'm coming in on my RAO, I'm coming in at the sternum, but it's again because I threw it to that left side.
Right.
So coming in basically at the same place, it would look the same coming out as it did originally coming in.
Okay.
Okay, so you see how that was done? That's not a real hard thing. The one thing that you have to keep in mind and keep control of is this tube head. And like I said, I didn't necessarily have to bring Krista over to do it, but because we don't have to be in alignment with the bucky anymore. So go ahead and raise up and I'll pull that out from under you because I know it doesn't feel good. And I am going to show